how do we push through the mental and emotional blocks that we kind of know we have, but don't know we have? And, you know, we've seen a lot of mindset practitioners say, do your daily affirmations, you know, change your mindset. Even, you know, there's parts of the course that say you've got to change up the way you think and what you say about yourself and about your journey. You know, the biggest thing for me is when I started saying when I get pregnant, not if I get pregnant. But there's really kind of a hard breakthrough barrier that a lot of people tend to like get stuck at. And so you feel like you're doing all the work, right? Like you're saying your affirmations, you're doing good on the positive thinking and the way you're saying things about your journey. But yet you're not necessarily seeing the results you want, or you don't feel in alignment when you're saying these phrases. And I know that this is something that everyone struggles with because what's happening is that your subconscious, like your deep subconscious, is the main driver. And when you first start saying things like this, like really like trying to, you know, have a different direction in the way you think and the way you speak, your subconscious doesn't believe it. It's still in that old pattern. It's still in those old habits and still in those old beliefs. While I do believe there's definitely a space and a place for, you know, seeing different affirmations around your house, saying them out loud. Sometimes when you're not getting through that barrier and you're not maybe feeling or seeing the results that you want, it's basically a subconscious block. And for some of us, this can be like really deeply rooted, and it really has to do a lot with your past traumas and experiences and life. And oh, I'm gonna sneeze, sorry. And until you, I feel like, are tired of all the BS, right? Like you're so overwhelmed with everything and you're really just had enough. You'll kind of keep going through these little motions and you're like, well, I'm doing it. I'm doing all the things. I'm checking off all the things on my to-do list. But the real root of it is getting down to those subconscious beliefs and some of those traumas that you might experience. I know there's a part in the course that's just really important to do your map out the really big events in your life, even though maybe society doesn't deem them as big events or traumatic enough to have an impact on you mentally and emotionally. You know, those events could be where you need to start, or even just asking questions of like, okay, like what did that event do to me to make me not believe something? I know for me, I don't necessarily have a lot of big events. A lot of my trauma was just the subconscious messages, and even the way my parents acted and behaved towards maybe their parents or each other or like the people around them. And as a child, that's what you pick up, right? You pick up, you know, not do as I say, not as I do. You pick up on the doing. So really kind of exploring that area. And there's links within the course to start exploring modalities like emotion freedom tapping, and just really digging in deep into places that you don't think are related to your fertility issues, and really opening Pandora's box and letting those old emotions that are stored not only in your subconscious mind, but in your body, and that can really lead to different behaviors and actions. And like, I'm still super type A, I'm still super anxiety, I'm still wound up, but yet I'm doing the meditation, I'm doing the affirmations, I'm doing all those things. You really need to take a look of like, where is this stemming from? So it's exactly like the root cause of your physical ailments. Like, so if you're having thyroid problems, are we going to focus more on the stress levels? Are we going to focus more on the gut health? Or is it a combination of both? Why is your adrenal overworked? Why is your gut health poor? Do you have a issue with leaky gut? Are you taking in too many food intolerances? Are you exposed to too many chemicals? What is the root cause of what is going on? It's the same with the subconscious mind. It is one of the scariest places to go. And it's literally one you have to do it all yourself anyways, right? Like, I can't come over and feed you. Like, you have to make your own meals. You have to put in those physical actions. It's the same with the mental and emotional health, is that you have to get to a point where you're like, okay, what I'm doing, you got to be really honest with yourself. What I'm doing with all these affirmations and, all these daily practices, I don't feel like they're getting me anywhere, because maybe I just got some test results and I've lost the plot, right? Like, my journey's over. There's nothing I can do. Everything that I've done hasn't worked, because my test results are even worse than they were before. And you see yourself get worked up to these crazy levels, instead of, just being maybe even just half those levels, right? Not like being super cool, like everything's fine, but just being a little bit more like rational of like, okay, deep, deep, deep breath. Let's figure this out. Let's have a conversation with someone who's in the know, working with someone, and not just going off the deep end on Google. And all of a sudden, not only are you dealing with infertility, but you're dealing with cancer. So if you see yourself really, truly not being able to be more of a better than where you were before, right? There's no baseline. Like, we all have different levels of like where we need to slow down, and all that kind of aspect of things. So if you can honestly look at yourself and go, okay, my stress levels or the way I react to certain situations is literally no better than what I was like 6 months ago, then it's time to reevaluate what type of mental and emotional support that you're doing, whether it's working or not. And sometimes we do need to see dramatic results in the way we react to things to kind of put it at a level of like, okay, physically it's really having a positive impact now, because instead of being super crazy hyped up and really pushing my adrenals and pushing all my like stress hormones out of balance again for 24 hours, 48 hours, I literally was there for 12 hours. And then I was able to get myself out of that. And so, I was asked this question too with one-to-one of like, what did you do? Like, how did you do it? And it basically, like I said, I was so done with my own BS. Like, I knew that I was hiding from things, and it kept getting heavier and heavier. And I think when you start really tapping into your own intuition, the way your body feels, is that things, I mean, if we really want to get woo-woo, like the spirit, the realm, whoever's protecting you, whatever's going on, God, like, will start just physically weighing on you wherever that is. And when you're in tune with yourself, you can go, okay, I feel the heaviness, I feel the weight. Something is not in alignment anymore because I have made this much progress, and yet I feel stuck, or yet it's not working the way I want it to work. So instead of doing the same thing consistently over and over, just hoping that's going to work, you need to readdress the situation and go, okay, I need to get real with myself. Maybe the podcasts I'm listening to aren't where I need to be at. Maybe I need to be a little bit more softer, or, whatever it is. Maybe I need to do some journaling. Maybe I need to get outside more. Okay. If I'm really honest with myself, I'm only getting outside once a week. That needs to go up to 3 times a week. That needs to be a priority. Most of us are coming into summertime. So it's going to be a lot easier to get outside because that's super, super important. But really tapping into those mental and emotional issues that are for you blocking the physical stuff that needs to happen as well. And it's really frustrating because you see a lot of people not have to do this work, but remember, we're all on our own journey and we all have to just do the right things for us. So if you're sat there saying affirmations that you subconsciously don't believe, it's just going to take you a really, really long time for those affirmations to work, right? Because first you have to slowly retrain your brain to even subconsciously believe that that's possible. And then once that is there, then the physical stuff starts to manifest because you're able to stick to the food commitments. You're able to really not be stressed over situations that used to send you flying off the edge. You can stop over supplementing. So if you find yourself in this situation where you can be really honest with yourself and say, okay, I subconsciously don't believe I'm worthy, fill in the blank. How can I get there? And in my experience, the quickest way to get there is to work with a coach who is trained in help reprogramming the subconscious mind. And that's what emotional freedom tapping does. That's what hypnosis does. There's another practice, which you've probably not heard of, called Psych K. And those modalities just really help you tap into those subconscious beliefs. And obviously, when you're working with a coach, they can pull things out of you that you wouldn't be willing to go with yourself, or maybe you can't even go there because your ego is protecting you, or when you're working with someone. So that is one of the best things you can do if you feel like you're really subconsciously blocked. And remember, it doesn't have to do anything with fertility, because a lot of the times our fertility problems have nothing to do with our lady bits. So some of these subconscious blocks can literally be stemmed around your parents. Something happened with your friends back in middle school or elementary school, or even high school or college. This could be a big traumatic event, or it can be just something that was traumatic to you, and it could really just be blocking you in a subconscious way that you're just not able to really move, they call it quantum leaping, but just really move out of that old you. So it's really just about being honest with yourself. If you feel like what you're doing isn't working and you don't, it's really, you're not believing in it per se, it's time to just go a little bit deeper. And like I say, you will know that you need to do this if you're still just not at a level of less stress, a little bit more peace. Things just don't affect you in the same way. I know I have these conversations with my husband and my husband, and he's like, why aren't you stressed out about this? I'm like, it just doesn't affect me the way it used to anymore. I can't do anything about it. And I know that stressing and worrying about it literally is just going to cause me more harm physically, because my stress levels will be all over the place, and it still won't change the situation that I want to be changed. So I've just done a lot of hard work to retrain my brain to not be stressed about those things. And this comes into play too with like what other people think about you. I just had to really tell myself, like, it literally doesn't matter what they think. It's not their journey. It's not their life. The way they view me and what I'm doing is literally not going to have an effect on my health unless I allow it to, unless I get stressed out, unless I'm over people, like I'm people pleasing, and therefore I'm not filling my own cup, I'm filling their cup. Like, it's the choices that I'm making that are impacting my physical and emotional and mental being, not them. It's the way I'm reacting, or not the situation. If someone is literally physically harming you or mentally and emotionally harming you, you really have to put up some big boundaries and get out of those situations. And it's your choice. You've got to move, you got to shift. And this is like for the past as well. If you have things in your past that you're literally replaying and reliving over and over and over again, these are not simple choices that you're making. I'm not saying like, oh, well, you're choosing that, so therefore blah, blah, blah. But you do have a choice to start taking the steps to reframe and look at that as a whole. So I hope that's answered the question. I'm going to put a bunch of links in the comment section below this video. Obviously, most of these links are throughout the course, especially in the section of mindset, the trauma section. So it's really important to, take time and have a deep dive and really start exploring what works for you. For many of you that's been through this course, you know that it's not just one way. I don't just show you this is what you do and this is how you get pregnant. It just doesn't work that way. And that's a little bit frustrating, because it would be easier if we were all the same and I could just give you the steps. But I've given you enough resources definitely to find what you are in alignment with, what step you're at, and what next step you can possibly take. So I hope that has helped.